Hey everybody, it's Aaron here with Robert, and welcome to Get Your Geek On's review of the newest episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Episode 4. We're on a rescue mission. This is a Star Wars trope, and we're doing it. So full spoilers for this episode and for the previous 3 episodes, as well as we might talk about some things that pop up in them. If you're not caught up yet, thanks for watching and listening. But hit pause, go watch, and then come back and listen to us talk about it. This week, Aaron, I want your thoughts first. How did you like this episode?
How did I like this episode? I still enjoyed it. I really do like the Leia character. I think that she's a fitting of what she's going to be in the future, because she's already like, oh yeah, we're on the same side, like being a smart ass. And I'm like, that's my kid. If she was in this situation, probably she'd be a smart ass too. Like, I'm loving that character. I did enjoy like all of that part. I do enjoy seeing Obi-Wan slowly kind of getting his abilities back and getting a little bit more in tune with the Force. Not full Obi-Wan.
How Obi got his groove back,
right?
The subtitle of this series so far.
I mean, and I'm enjoying that still. I'm really, I'm doing okay with that one. I don't understand one thing is like how the hell the Empire doesn't know all these people are infiltrating them, because it's like you do realize like there is okay, whatever, we'll go with that. And I'm guessing that they're trying to hint that into her Force powers later on, because in the 8th film you kind of see that she has Force abilities.
Yeah, I mean, Leia's always had, we've always known that she's had some sort of connection to the Force. They make allusions to it in the original trilogy, even with like she can feel her brother, she could feel Luke, or she can, so there's always been a little bit there, but it hasn't really ever been fully explored. We didn't see it really fully explored until episode 8, when we saw her use it to get out of space. We saw some flashback training montages. I don't remember if that's episode 8 or episode 9, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we know that she's got some connection to the Force, and I'm not sure if that was hinted at there, because the Inquisitors can usually sense when someone's using the Force, and so if she was, I think that would have been played a little bit differently. It might just be that she's strong-willed.
Oh, because that stops the whole mind reading thing or whatever.
I mean,
that's what I was like, okay.
Yeah. It's and kind of up for interpretation.
I did like that we're getting more of a I don't want to say a younger Vader. I mean, because he is younger, I get it, but we're getting a more ruthless Vader. Like, I'm seeing that, like, I am supposed to be scared of you.
I disagree wholeheartedly. Really? And I'll say that in a minute.
Okay.
I mean, continue, but I disagree completely with that.
I like it. I mean, because to me, he's on a rampage still. He's still freaking crazy Anakin almost. Like, I don't care if I kill my own Inquisitors. I will say this too. This show made me go start playing the Star Wars game. The which one? What's it called?
Fallen Order?
I have to pull it up right now. I actually have it saved because I was actually playing it. Yeah, Fallen Order, the one with the Joker basically playing.
Yeah, Cal Kestis and the Inquisitors, I think, are the big bads of that game.
Yeah, yeah, because she's the third sister, right? This girl,
right? And she's never been in anything else.
Right, she hasn't, because they were fighting the second sister in that one. Like, the first fight I have is against her, and I'm like, oh, okay, so we're getting that connection, and I'm liking that. I'm liking stuff that's not Skywalker related, really. So yeah, I'm still liking this episode. I think it was maybe a little bit of a weaker one. I didn't feel for the whole pilot dying. I didn't care for that scene. I thought that was kind of a waste to give it. I don't know this pilot. It's random guy flying a plane, and she's like, wait, and it's like, I'm supposed to have a connection to this because you're seeing the other girl kind of like consoling her, and it's like, it'll be okay. And then you have Obi and Layla over here, and it's like, okay, they're okay. And it's like, I don't get that part. Like, why couldn't we just show them two? I didn't need the other side. I know where billions die left and right. Like, that's a main thing. But the other question I had is, like, in the prison, essentially, so we're in this pyramid at the bottom, are they in carbonite? Like I didn't. He says they're tombs, but I'm like, are they dead or not dead? I didn't understand that. Like, why are we saving these things? Like, I would have just incinerated the body and been like, cool, bye. Like, I don't need this essential tomb. I didn't get that.
Yeah, so this is. I will just say that I'm, as everyone that's watching this probably knows, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. Right. I love all this stuff. Or at least I know, I've watched all the cartoons. I've read some of the books. I'm familiar with some of the comics, like all this stuff. That Star Wars fan did not like this episode and where it's going.
Okay.
I'm pulling myself out of all of that extra knowledge. I still have problems with this episode that I will talk about, but I do enjoy the series more overall for the story of Obi-Wan Kenobi that it's giving us. The reason that as the Star Wars nerd, I don't like it is because this is raising so many concerns that I have with where it's going to connect other things. I want to address one thing really quickly that you said about like Vader being ruthless. We saw that in last episode when he was going through that village and he was killing people left and right.
That's true.
So I agree with it there. In this episode, I have no reason why he doesn't kill Reva. Like, I understand she put the tracker on the droid. Okay, he doesn't need her then to track it. Like,
that's true.
She failed him. He absolutely should kill her. The Vader that we know in this time period has already killed other Inquisitors. He's already told her he's not going to tolerate her failure. We see that in the original trilogy, which is 9-10 years later. He's killing people left and right that fail him. Like, I understand. Like, she's like, well, we can track and we can shut down the path. That's not his mission. He cares about Kenobi, and you let Kenobi slip through your fingers twice now. It's happened twice.
True. That is twice. Yeah.
Like, I am not okay with him not actually killing her in that moment. Like, he absolutely should have. And so that's a character beat that didn't make sense to me. And honestly, the biggest Star Wars nerd problem I have with this show is something I was concerned about before the show even started, is just how involved Vader is. Because when you get to A New Hope and you get to that confrontation that he has with Obi-Wan, not only does it seem like it's been a really long time since they've met, which 9 years, which is where this story is, it's that could qualify. Right. But you also have this feeling that he knows he's been out there, he's been waiting for him to return, and he knew that he would. Right. And in this episode, it really hit me more than in any other episode, but because I just I think it's after the confrontation last week and it's just now it's building. The fact that now Darth Vader knows that drawing Leia out and putting her in danger will draw Kenobi out. What's the next 9 years? Why isn't her life constantly in jeopardy? Why isn't Vader constantly kidnapping her or whatever to draw Kenobi out? And so it's just like this gap of 9 years is not going to make sense. And I had another friend that said, well, maybe at the end of this series, Kenobi will fake his death or something like that. And that won't line up with what happens in A New Hope, because Vader gets you get the feeling or the sense that he knows he's been alive. And he just doesn't know where he's been. And so I'm really having problems with how involved Vader is in the series. What I would have hoped and what I would have wanted is for this to be more of a rogue Inquisitor where Reva is doing these things, but she's not telling anyone else. She's not telling anyone else about her plan. Nobody else knows about Leia. Nobody else knows about, she's keeping everything very close to the chest. And at the very end of the series, Vader finds out that she was hunting Kenobi and let him slip through her fingers, and then he kills her, right? And that to me would have worked for this series. But having Vader be so involved, that's the canon part that is really messing with my brain and making it really hard to track with the story. So before we get into my other specific criticisms of this episode, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, saying it that way, here's one thing I don't get. I mean, I guess, again, these shows are geared towards people like me who don't know the hardcore stuff. So it's like, oh, I'm liking
absolutely.
it.
My sister has seen all the movies and stuff, and she texted me like last night. She watched it. She's like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good!" And I'm like, "I wish I could agree with you. Yeah. Like, I want to love the show."
Because you want to love your fandom, like me. It's like with my Halo. I want to love all the games. I want to do all that, and I have issues with certain games. So it makes sense, especially as years go on, that there's going to be issues. The more you say it, it's like I've always said, something we've talked about, and I'm wondering if it's going to happen now. Are they going to force a season 2 because they have to fight again? And I almost feel like we're not going to get that fight. And if we don't get that fight, and literally it's gonna go from the whole where he literally beat Obi-Wan, and then you jump to New Hope, and it's like, well, I was the pupil and now I'm the master. I'm like, no, you kicked his ass already. Like, you told him he's gonna.
I think we're definitely getting another fight over the final 2 episodes of the series.
Sell it?
And that's, I don't know. I'm not a writer, and that's my biggest problem with the series is the writing. I think that the actors are all doing a really good job. I think for the most part, the action set pieces have been pretty good. There's, like the chase through the woods in like episode 1 was really.
You could tell they were like not running as fast as they could.
Yeah, I mean, it made me think of like when I'm chasing my 5-year-old around the house. It's like I could catch her in an instant if I needed to, but we're playing a game. It's like that's not how that should play out. So there's been some problems. But for the most part, like, I think, again, the acting's been really good. I think the action's been a lot of fun. I think that, it looks really good, like all the sets and costumes and all that stuff. Everything's looked really good. But I do have some major issues with the writing. And I want to just run through three major ones that I had in this episode alone. I don't know if you had the same ones or if you cared. The first one I'm going to address is with Reva. Our Inquisitor who, at the end of last episode kidnaps Leia, now takes her to this fortress. She knows Obi-Wan's not dead, right? She lies to Leia, but she knows he's not dead. Right. So there's two problems I have with what she does. Number one, how do they not think Obi-Wan might come for her after doing this whole thing? Like, how are they not prepared for a possible infiltration? So that's number one. And number two, she spends most of this episode like interrogating Leia, trying to get information from this 10-year-old about the path who literally has just been introduced to it. There's no guarantee that she has any information.
Yeah, right? She may literally not know anything.
We plucked her from Alderaan. Yeah. And in the last episode, she killed the guy that was supposed to take Leia away. Clearly, he would have had that information. So if that's the information you wanted, you should have gotten it from him, not from a 10-year-old that might not even have it. Like,
we adore 10-year-olds.
It makes no sense. What she's doing, it's like it's completely illogical. So those are my problems with her. Then you get into Obi-Wan and I think it's Tala.
That's the girl who helps her, right?
Yeah, their plan to infiltrate this base is ridiculous.
Yes, that I do agree.
She's going to go on the base and literally be on comms with him, not even an earpiece, which I don't know that Star Wars has earpieces. Like, we've never seen them with earpieces. So, but she's on comms, like 10 feet away from another guy, walking Obi-Wan through this infiltration while he's wearing Jedi robes. Like, they don't even give him a disguise.
Nah.
And then I understand that obviously they ended up tripping the alarm. Like, people found out that they were there, so that changed things. But what was their original plan to get Leia out of this place?
Yeah,
because
walk out the front door.
Were they gonna was he gonna have to swim back up to the surface with her? Did he have another breathing thing for her? They didn't set up what the plan was at all. And then when they executed the plan, it just made no sense to me. I was like, I don't understand what's happening. Yeah. Like, I like the individual scenes. I like what the actors are doing. I thought it was great when they were like trying to walk out with her like underneath Obi-Wan's cloak. And I'm like, yeah, they don't have any other plan. So that's what they have to do. Like, I'm enjoying that. But also, why don't you have any other plan? Like, why didn't you think of something?
Yeah, I will give you that, because I had an issue with that whole part too, because it was very much like you said, she goes in, and I'm sorry, I'm the head of security. I'm on a confidential mission. You would know that, hey, somebody's going to come here. It's going to be a high-ranking officer, whatever. He's going to know because he's the highest person.
He doesn't have to verify what information she has, but he should be verifying that she's going to go talk to an inquisitor or something.
Yeah. Who are you going to go talk to?
Let me call them up, make sure they're expecting you. Like,
yeah, we're going to make sure that we're going to double check. And what's she going to do? Kill him? Because guess what? There's still 4 stormtroopers right there. That
do you have an appointment? I got to check the log.
It was so dumb. It's like, well, I'm going to tell him, oh, let me go. Oh, no, I'm such ready. No, like that was dumb. Yeah. And then, like you said, she's sitting like not even 6 feet from somebody else. And she's like, Obi-Wan, I want to hear. And the guy's not like,
I know.
I know. When she leaves it behind, little communicator, and he's like, hey, I'm here. Hey, I need help. It's not like, why is there a communicator here?
And that's a clear homage to A New Hope when C-3PO leaves his communicator behind when they're infiltrating the Death Star. Like they're doing an homage to Star Wars, but it doesn't make sense. And so that's I had like problems.
15 feet behind him, choking out the other guy, and nobody hears it. Like literally, she's choking him out.
I know when they showed that it was literally like 10 feet away from the desk, I was like, wait, what? I thought he like took it into a different room.
That's what I thought he was doing.
Nope. We're literally 10 feet away.
So here's my idea is I'm thinking all the people are just deaf. They're just deaf.
It's making me think that. It's making me think of Spaceballs when Lone Star and Dark Helmet have that. He's like, this is why you will lose. Evil will always triumph over good because good is dumb. Except it's the reverse. Like in this one, instead of good being dumb, which they also kind of are because their plan is dumb. The Empire is just, they're the Keystone Cops. They're terrible. Like they don't do anything right in this episode. And I'm like,
no sense.
Like for me, if I'm Vader walking in, like you give me the rundown of what just happened, I'm burning this place to the ground with everyone inside. You are all dead. You're all, not just third sister who concocted this entire stupid plan. I'm literally bringing this whole thing down because you guys are all terrible.
I'm just killing all of you. Well, I also want to know, he got there pretty fast. Like they kind of show that he's almost there within like minutes.
Well, yeah.
Where was he?
So he was probably at his home base or on his ship. They do mention that the Fortress Inquisitorius, which is the dumbest name in history.
Yeah, that was
like Star Wars has dumb names. Is in the Mustafar system. Mustafar is the planet where him and Obi-Wan had their confrontation. That's where his base is on the lava planet.
I feel like that's Palpatine being a dick to him, being like,
oh no, that's Vader. Like he wants to be in a constant state of anger.
Keep looking at I lost something.
That's what fuels him. So it does that. He does that on purpose. But yeah, so he was definitely in the area. They also have light speed in this galaxy.
But it's one of those like, I don't know. And again, if all the Inquisitors, like the other part, like where you said, where they kind of surround them, you're telling me no one just said, screw it, let's just shoot. Like, why do you, I get it's the villain trope of I got to talk first. Nah, if I was the villain, just automatic fire before those planes even come. Like, and there's no air defense.
Well, and we do know based on the last episode that Vader doesn't necessarily want Kenobi just murdered. Like he wants to catch him and torture him.
Blame the stormtrooper who shot him by accident.
But yeah, I mean, to answer your earlier question about like all the people that were like in amber, that to me also doesn't really make a whole lot of sense with what we've seen in this series. Like in the very first episode, the other Jedi they catch on Tatooine and they just leave him hanging. Like, yeah,
that's what I was like, so confused.
Like that to me, like he should have maybe disappeared and we didn't know what happened to him. And then Obi-Wan sees him in amber in this episode. And you're like, oh, like that's what happened. Like that would have made way more sense than introducing this and acting like they do this with everyone. But we've already seen that they don't do it with everyone. So and there's some recognizable people from like extended canon, a character from the Clone Wars that had a couple of episodes. A Jedi was people think he was in the amber. I think it's Master Sanu, I think is his name.
And then that little boy is supposed to be a
couple other backgrounds,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's officially he's a young one for sure. Yeah. But again, like, why is he in that outfit? Like, that's the training outfit from the temple. So you're telling me they did this, 10 years ago in the order? Like like there's logistical problems that I'm not tracking with why these people are like in amber to begin with, and then again, it's
why,
weird. I'm with you on the emotional beat of like killing that other pilot. We only had like one scene of him before he died. And like literally when he died, I was confused as to, I was like, wait, which character died? Was it O'Shea Jackson Jr., who's the other, like he's the black guy that's part of the Little Rebel. I was like, did he die? And then it was like, oh, like it wasn't until like they got back to the base and I saw him and I was like, oh, it was the third guy that we sort of met. Like I didn't like, so yeah, I didn't have any emotional connection to him dying.
And to me too, there when the other Inquisitor, he obviously he has force powers too, right? The guy.
I do, yeah.
And he's like, stop them. And she's the only one that throws something. I was like, why didn't he like try to hold the ship and be like, somebody shoot it or nothing? He's just like looks at her, do it. You could do this too, man. Like I have powers, you got powers. We could just stop the ship. Or rip the engine out, probably.
I'm at the point, and I think we've pretty much talked through everything in the episode.
Yeah,
I'm at the point where like I really enjoyed the setup. I thought the first couple of episodes were a lot of fun, and I was very much looking forward to where the rest of the series is brought. These last two episodes have definitely tempered my expectations for what we're going to get, and have really kind of, like I think the story of Obi-Wan's journey from grief and inaction and just wallowing in self-pity and PTSD to a more hopeful Obi-Wan who's going to be the character we see in A New Hope, who helps to spur Luke on to help take down the Emperor, like that. I like that we're getting that story, but I have so many problems with how they're choosing to tell it, and ultimately the biggest concern that I have is the same thing that they've done with other stories. Like they're playing in this sandbox where they're, either retconning or messing with established things. And I'm getting real tired of Star Wars doing that. Like that's part of the reason why I think episode 9 is maybe my least favorite Star Wars movie. And that's understanding that I hate Attack of the Clones, but episode 9 just said episode 8, everything that happened, screw you.
Yeah.
Like it literally, it just undid half of that movie. And I didn't particularly love episode 8. I thought it had some really good stuff, and it also had some stuff I didn't like. Right. But I hate that they spent an entire movie then undoing parts of that movie. Like it just, don't do this. Like if you can't tell a story that fits within and make it interesting, then just don't tell the story. I didn't need an Obi-Wan show. I love Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I wanted an Obi-Wan show with him, and I wanted to get something interesting. But if you can't tell it in a way that makes sense with what you've done before and is interesting, then just don't do it. Like it's really starting to frustrate me. I hope the final 2 episodes are amazing. I'm not a writer. I hope they write themselves out of this corner. But right now it just feels like they've literally painted themselves into a corner and they have no escape.
And that's what I'm starting to get worried. I mean, like I said, still love the episode. I really did. I have issues, but I mean, I'm trying to get past them from a writing standpoint, a little bit. And I think, again, the fact that I don't know all the lore, I can say, oh, okay, well, that's fine. No big deal.
Probably helping you.
Yeah, exactly. But then there's things where, like I said, that I don't like I don't get I'm just going to talk really low and it's okay. I didn't get that. I didn't get the whole, like I said, if they're all supposed to have powers or abilities, I'll say force powers, why did he just was like, nah, I'm good. Don't worry about it. We're not going to do anything here. So like stuff like that.
Because they needed to get away.
Yeah. And again, that's where it's like I tried to step away. It's like you need to get away, but then maybe just show when she throws it, they're out of reach and let the other pilot live. Like, oh, it just missed because she's not as strong as someone like Vader or Obi, who could throw it all the way across the planet if they wanted. And it's be like, oh, or she just misses. Like in general, they just both miss. Like, oh, my aim was off or something.
Or even like they both do it and then they get in each other's way and they explode behind the ship, because they're not working together, they're working against one another. Like there's so many different things they could do that they're not doing.
It just goes with the same trope of, oh, well, they're the good guys, they have to get away. And again, it comes to plot protection. They can't die. So yeah. But anyway, on that note, still enjoyed it. Still would say watch it. Hopefully it'll lead into some better stuff though.
I will say, like, if you're a diehard Star Wars fan, you're already watching.
Yeah, exactly.
And the casual Star Wars fans, I think, are going to enjoy this more. Like I said, my sister, who's I would say casual Star Wars fan, has been loving this. Now she's admittedly like a huge Ewan McGregor fan, so she just loves Ewan McGregor in anything.
Yeah.
But I do think that, like, casual Star Wars fans are definitely going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
They're not going to be thinking through every line of dialogue from A New Hope like I do, and being like, does that really match up? Does it really match up when Vader tells Tarkin that Kenobi's alive and Tarkin's like, surely he must be dead by now? Like, that whole exchange tells you that at some point, they knew he was alive.
Right.
And now they just think he's died of old age or something like that. Like, there's not like a definitive, like, and I killed Obi-Wan, like Tarkin's like, well, he must surely be dead by now. Like, and it just, again, it feels like they're not paying enough respect to what's going to happen next in Obi-Wan's story. And they're just telling their own. And I'm not on board with that. And as a major Star Wars fan, I'm not on board.
That's where I always say, stop following the Skywalker stuff and just write something else going on in the galaxy. We don't have to know what's happening right here. Like video games have shown, give us a new character with a great storyline and people are going to love him or her or whatever. You don't have to be like, oh, here's all these gaps. We're going to try to fill in all these gaps and maybe continuity goes out the window. No, like, that's why for me, Mandalorian works, because it's like, okay, he's so far away from everything. I don't need to know it until they brought in, Skywalker at the end. And it's like, okay, I can kind of live with this. But again, just give me Mando doing his Mando thing. Like, I'm good with that.
Yep.
So on that note, guys, definitely check out all of our other videos and our podcasts, all at Official GYGO on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all of that stuff. So on that note, I'm Aaron, and that's Robert. And this is Get Your Geek On. Stay geeky and, well, get your geek on.
Bye.